Hi, folks. Have you wondered how to get financing for your short-term rentals, your vacation rentals, your RV shares? Stay tuned. That and a lot more right after this. Hi, folks. Thank you so much for joining us on the, I'm going to say it, the Passive Aggressive Show. So I'm going to go ahead and get that out of the way because there's been bets that I'm not going to say Passive Accredited Investor Show. And I'm going to continue to say Passive Aggressive. I actually like that better.
Passive Aggressive?
Yeah, Passive Aggressive Show.
Okay.
By the way, we are Carolina Capital Management. We are lenders in the Southeast for real estate investors. If you're interested in borrowing money, go to carolinahardmoney.com. Click on the Apply Now tab. If you're a passive investor looking for passive returns, click on the Accredited Investor tab. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, and don't forget to sign up for Wednesdays with Wendy. There is the link for Wednesdays with Wendy. Wendy every week gives, well, you can just copy it in the chat if you like.
That's another idea.
Or hit pause.
Because
Can they pause this?
Not when it's live.
Well,
We'll just stop for a minute.
So-
they circulate it later, right?
So
Yeah,
if you're on the non-video podcast, you're out of luck.
You mean the live one?
No, the podcast.
Oh, gotcha.
The non-video
Yeah,
podcast.
then you can't.
No, well, it'll be in the show notes in the podcast. But
Anyway,
Wendy gives 30 minutes of her time for anyone who wants to talk real estate. So sign up, and she's usually booked out a couple of months in advance. So take advantage, right?
mm-hmm.
So, before we get started with some finance and stuff, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about some breaking news. This just in, nothing new.
It's broken news.
So the employment numbers came out, the ADP numbers, and what that means is ADP is a payroll company, and you always check these numbers weekly and monthly to see the number of new payrolls added to corporate America within the last month. Oh yeah, by the way, thank you. Sorry, we do have a questions and comment section. If you'd like to ask a question, we'll be happy to answer that.
Somewhere over here.
So it's either going to be on the right-hand side or underneath, depending on the platform you're viewing from. So they were expecting around 500,000 new jobs, and it came in at 943,000.
So 500
new payrolls.
So 400,000 more than they thought.
Yeah, and
New jobs available?
new payrolls created.
New people
so
actually
that many
working.
more people, they're going back to work. That's because they're cutting off the $300 a week.
And they revised
grants.
April down a little bit, so it didn't wash. It wasn't. They didn't revise it down that much.
Yeah.
So there are new jobs being created. We still have a ton
It's
of
amazing.
jobs
We had
available.
one available.
It's
actually.
amazing when you cut the unemployment
You cut the fat.
benefit for
That's exactly right.
for extra.
You take away the vacation pay.
Yeah.
I was actually talking with my contractor yesterday, and he's like, thank God they stopped giving that extra. He's like, I have people showing up on job sites now. He's like,
Yeah.
it's great.
It's amazing. People are
Well, listen,
inherently lazy.
There are people that are hurting. I get it.
For sure. Oh yeah.
And people would love to get a job in their industry if they could,
Mm-hmm.
but some of those jobs aren't around anymore.
Right.
So you're going to have to get retrained to do
That's
something
right.
else.
Take what you can get and then go from there. It's easier to find a job when you have a job.
Listen, same thing happened to me. I was in the mortgage industry for 20 years, middle management sales position, and in 2008, our industry went down to 25%.
That job
of its
didn't
size.
exist anymore.
It
Yeah.
went bye-bye.
Yeah.
And especially when you were my age, I was costing them too much in health benefits,
That's
I guess.
right. That's right.
Anyway,
Oh,
I had to change professions in order to, pay the bills. So
Yeah.
it happens, and you have to learn how to roll with the punches.
And then he got back to something even better.
Yes, and that's usually the case.
Yeah.
And,
God will come through.
that's right. So, anything you want to add to those numbers?
I wish I could add more jobs to it.
Yeah, I can tell you, I was listening to Fox News this morning out of New York, and they were saying on the radio, they were saying that the stock market is really up,
Hey, Mark.
up, doing really well. So that's a good thing. Hey, bro.
He just had his birthday
That's right. He's old and decrepit now too.
on
It's not-
Monday.
Now the stock market up, that's not all because of cryptocurrency, is it?
Yeah, I hope not. I hope
It's
they just read the energy stocks were up,
Energy,
and
yeah.
and
it's getting a bit frothy
Marathon.
right now. They have stocks like GameStop and AMC, which we have a interest in. And
In a movie theater.
We'll tell you later.
yeah.
But AMC made an announcement about their stockholders now are going to get free popcorn and exclusive showings. And
That's gonna make me
all of a
invest.
sudden, all these people started buying freaking AMC stock.
Really?
And then
That's crazy.
a couple of days later, they announced that they're going to sell off 11 million shares sometime in the future. So then the
Ooh.
stock price started going
So
down. But that market capitalization on AMC a year ago was like $53 million. And now the market capitalization of that company is $31 billion.
That's
Now,
little
this is a
different.
company on the brink of bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And they have a market capitalization of $31 billion. You think they're overpaying for this stock? You got
Yeah.
the same problem with Bed
Yeah.
Bath and Beyond. They
Yeah.
don't do anything but try to race to the bottom pricing wise, because everybody's got the 20% off coupon.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And their stock is going through the roof, and it's mainly because of people that are putting in their gambling chips.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
stock.
And in gambling, indeed it is.
Well
you know,
said.
So, but I think anyone who is paying attention now more than ever, it's just apparent how manipulated it is. I mean, you get, Elon Musk saying, we're going to take Bitcoin as payment for our cars. What happens to Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Then he says, no, never mind. We decided to go with Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
That's right. That's right.
Like, what's going on? I mean, when something is so dependent on the
Headlines.
Mhm.
how secure is that?
That's right.
Well, it's not.
Yeah.
I got a headline. Real estate is rocking.
Yes, it is.
And that said, mortgage applications for this week compared to last year at this week were the purchase monies were down 2%. And refinance applications were up 6% from this time last year.
And it's down though because there's no housing available.
Yeah, there's very little inventory.
Yep.
I'm assuming the people that are refinancing right now are people that just couldn't refinance
Before. Yeah. Yeah.
because rates have been so low for so long
Yeah.
that you're just now being able to qualify for a loan. That's why you're refinancing, or you already would have.
Well, Brian Maddox was on here, the mortgage broker, speaking a few weeks ago, and he was saying that people are actually refinancing 2 and 3 times too.
Yeah. No. If it keeps going down, they will.
Yeah.
But I think it's ticked up a little bit now. So,
Yeah.
And there's always for me on mine, like I haven't refinanced yet, but it's not because it's because I have a HELOC out, but I'm waiting on another project to pay that HELOC off before I refi.
Well, there could be people that are getting out of higher rate hard money loans now that their homes are finished.
Well, I hope it's not their personal home because that's a no-no.
That's right. It is with us.
Well, it doesn't say whether they're investment loans or personal loans or primary residence loans. It
But
just
you
says
imagine-
mortgage application.
But you imagine what 99% of them are personal
Oh, yeah.
residents. Yeah.
More than likely.
Yeah.
Okay, so our topic at hand is how to finance short-term rentals, vacation rentals, other odd types of vacation properties.
You can't sell them all to Wendy.
At deep discounts.
Yeah, I'll take them.
We covered this in the earlier show. You can get, again, you can get as many second home loans as you can possibly qualify for.
Mm-hmm.
There's no limit on the amount of second homes that you can qualify for, other than your ability to repay the loan.
Yeah, your ability to qualify for them through your income.
Right. As long as you can repay the loan based on your income, you can get as many as you want. There's no restrictions on those. And I suggest if you can, that's what you use to finance these things with, because you're going to get the best rates out there. Right.
Oh,
The problem is there aren't a whole lot of, what do we call them? Non-qualifying companies out there.
Like non-QM loans.
Yeah.
Let me make one caveat to that. I think you're still limited to 10
You are.
loans
You are.
in your name.
Yeah,
Correct. Yeah.
you definitely are.
Now, if you can get 10 in your wife's name and 10 in yours, then now you got 20.
Scott says, can you only get one second home? After that, isn't it a third, fourth, fifth?
It's just a number of them.
Yeah.
It's still considered a second.
Yeah. Non-primary living. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. You have 10 of them, but what is it? You have to live in it for how many? Is there a certain time period you have to?
Primary residence, you have to stay there for at least 6 months and 1 day, I think.
Yeah, 6 months and 1 day.
Some states are requiring 9 months, like New York. They still want you to pay tax there.
Yeah. Well, who wants to live there anyway? Sorry for all you New Yorkers.
Brian Maddox says you can have as many second homes as you want.
Yeah.
You don't have the 10 mortgage limit? Question mark. When you can type it in later, let me know.
Type faster.
Just
Come on.
just say no.
The other thing that Brian was talking about when he was on was the ability to get a loan as a parent for having your kid on it and your kid living in the house.
Yeah, up to 10 finance. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if your kid can live in the house, that's another loan that you can get at those incredible rates. And that kid could rent out property, could rent out bedrooms.
Right.
You could do a quad, you could do a duplex.
Yeah.
With something like that. So there's all different kinds of ways that you can take full advantage of what's being offered through conventional financing.
Mhm.
It's a great way to go.
All right. So
Now, many of us investors, however, do not qualify for conventional loans.
Right.
We're self-employed. We don't pay ourselves as much.
I thought you were going to say don't pay
should.
taxes.
No, we pay taxes. Unfortunately.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, yeah.
Pay plenty of that.
Yeah.
But not everybody can qualify for conventional loans these days. So doing here it says you can always do. We already read that.
You can always finance a primary residence, no cap. Just one of the borrowers needs to live in the home for at least 12 months.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That was really good when he was on talking about that.
Mhm.
We loved having you on here, Brian.
and again, we are going to have you on this show because didn't we have him on a different show?
I don't
Or was it-
remember.
Was it this one?
I don't remember.
I think we had him on our investor stuff, Sunrisers and the Rock Hill
That's
Subgroup.
right. He did the
So
rounds.
we're going to have him on this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yep.
Anyway,
So get ready, Brian. The other thing, our other opportunity though to finance these short-term rentals would be with a non-qualifying loan, which means that they're really basing it on the property and not your particular income, right?
Yeah.
The problem with that, there's a couple of problems with that with the companies that are out there doing those kinds of loans. Number one, they don't like short-term.
Yep.
Or they might base it off of the market rent rather than what's really coming in. They won't count that. The other thing is being able to prove that you've got experience, and then your loan minimum is an issue. There's companies, I've got some written down here, require a loan minimum of 100,000. They've got another one that requires a loan minimum of 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have several short-term rental properties. And if I refinanced them at 80%, it wouldn't be $100,000 loan. They're all small. A couple of them are, but
Yeah.
but they're all small.
Like a townhome or something like that.
Yeah. They're 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom houses located in the dinky little town of Rock Hill, South Carolina. And the values just are not, going to qualify for 75% refinance up, and it would come up to 100,000. So there are a couple things that'll hold it up, but there are ways around it.
That's the perfect opportunity for passive or semi-passive investors to be the lenders on these types of
That's exactly
projects.
right.
Mhm.
And because they are short-term rentals and they tend to cash flow higher than your typical long-term rental property,
Mm-hmm.
you can afford to pay a little higher interest rate. And keeping in mind too that your loan amounts being, excuse me, much lower, your payments aren't going to be that high anyway.
That's right.
And the investor likes it because they can still get a decent yield on their.
Mm-hmm.
That one of the things I hear from people we talked about earlier is on a or a short-term rental property, they want to get the same interest rates as they would on a long-term rental
Sure.
property. And
We're
they
investors.
and
We
they,
always want
and
the
they
lowest.
get upset when like it's really tough to find that. And it is tough to find that. Like it's tough to find a short-term rental rate at 4%. And what I tell them, I'm sure what you tell them too, is like it doesn't matter. Like how much are you making?
That's
Like,
right.
You make zero if the deal doesn't happen.
That's right.
So if you're paying 8 or 9%,
alternative.
yeah, if you pay 8 or 9%, but you're making double or triple on that property that you would on a long term, what does it matter?
That's right. That's right. I spoke last night in Columbia, South Carolina, at a new group there called Re-Up, REQ Up. They have a great Facebook page if you want to check it out. I think it's under COLAREIA, or REIA, whatever that stands for. Yeah. So I was speaking there last night. One of the questions that they asked all the panelists was, how did you invest in your first property? How'd you get the money for that? And
Stole it.
yeah, after that. So I've been investing on purpose since 2001. Previous to that, I was an accidental landlord, but I've been investing on purpose since 2001. And I am using the same kind of loan to purchase houses today that I used the first time I ever did it. And it was with a short-term private money loan.
Yep.
So that's just a great way for people who, have self-directed IRA money, ESA, HSA, mattress money. It's a great way for those folks to earn an interest rate because they can lend money to people like me who are doing short-term loans. We're buying them, we're fixing them up, we're getting short-term renters in there, and then we're turning around and refinancing them.
You want to know what the biggest benefit from a landlord's perspective is for a short-term rental? There are no long-term leases.
Yeah.
So none of the rules about evictions apply.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So if people stop paying you, you call the sheriff and have them thrown out.
Don't you have them all pay up front anyway? Or
Yeah, they pay in advance.
I'm just saying there has been cases, and you've heard occasionally the horror story of an Airbnb where the tenant never left.
Yeah, that's really rare.
And it is, but for the most part, the law is on your side in this case,
right?
Because it's not a long-term thing. You don't have to go through the courts. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You just say, hey, this person won't leave my house.
That's right.
And you can get rid of them quickly.
That's right.
10-day notice of quit. Is that what it is?
That's right.
It's come and get them now.
So one of the things that I do to prevent that, because I do have short-term properties. We do have short-term properties that will rent for 28 days, 1, 2, 3 months, sometimes longer than that. And if that's the case, once it goes over 28 days, we actually literally check them out and check them back in.
Mm-hmm.
So that they're never in a true month-to-month situation, and
Yep.
they won't fall into the court battles.
Exactly.
And for those of you that are afraid of what the government has allowed to happen with landlords and banks for that matter, because it's really putting a crimp in everybody's system.
Oh yeah.
By not being able to either foreclose or evict people that just aren't paying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only way you're going to be able to overcome that is if you don't owe any money on the house. Even then, you're doing it for income.
Right.
You're not doing it just because you're providing free places
That's
for
right.
people to stay.
That's right. I'd love to be able to do that.
But that's a good way to protect yourself, is having a short-term tenants, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, Wendy, were you able to Google anyone that specifically will do short-term rental
Yes,
loans?
yes. I've been saying for a couple of months now that there are only 2 companies, but I found 4. So the first company that I found is Vizio Lending, and Vizio's been around a
Interesting.
while.
Yeah,
I mean, we've used
they do
them
a lot
on
of
stuff.
commercial loans.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I was really surprised, but they do a short-term vacation rental, and Vizio's VISIO, Vizio Financial, I think is what they're called.
And by the way,
but-
you can't go directly to them, as far as I know.
yeah, you can.
You can?
Mhm.
Okay.
You sure can. So they do a 30-year term. They will only lend to an entity. They won't lend to people. And it's based on the short-term rental income. That is really
pretty
unusual.
rare. Yeah.
Very
and
unusual.
lending to an entity, you want to hold all of these properties if you're doing short-term rentals in an entity.
Mhm.
You're letting people into this house. You want to create insulation between yourself and whatever happens in that
That's
house.
exactly right. And get an
And
umbrella
if you're
policy.
Walter Wolfert, it's going to be in a trust and with the beneficiary of the LLC.
It's going to be
That's right.
a land trust with the beneficiary who's in another state who signed for it, and the next.
He once told me he had to hire an abstractor to help him figure out how he had deals set up. He's got a great way of doing that. The next company, and I've heard of them a lot, it's called Host Financial. And Host Financial will do an 80% purchase money on short-term rental, but their loan amount is $100,000 minimum. They'll only do $100,000 minimum, and they'll do a 30-year term. But they're really in it to win, because they'll do a 3-way income. They'll do market rent if it qualifies for market rent. If it doesn't qualify for market rent, they'll do your current Airbnb income. If it's a refinance, if that won't work, you're not in it for that long, they'll even do a projected income for short-term rental on that.
And they're probably using that Air DNA
Yeah,
that you said.
yeah. So they just go to Air DNA, they check out what the average rent is for that particular property in that particular area, and they'll.
When you underwrite that, what typical occupancy do you use? Is it 50%, 60%?
When I'm buying something, I run it at 50.
50, yeah.
Yeah, just to be safe. I want it to be up in the 80s, and in many
Sure.
cases it is. But it's seasonal.
Mhm.
So, but 50 is usually a safe number to go on. There's another company, I had never heard of this one. It's called Cram Capital. I thought that was an interesting name.
Capital.
And
I like
Cram
that.
is with a K, KRAM Capital.
Cram
Now
Capital.
they have a 200,000 minimum on what they do. So they're looking for the big fancy Airbnbs.
Yeah, they're probably in destination
Yeah.
areas.
It
Yeah.
probably is, but their rates start at 5.125, which doesn't suck. It's a 30-year fixed, and they'll do 80% with a 680 credit score, and they'll base it off of the market rent. So they're not going to count, even though they're doing a $200,000 minimum, they're not counting your Airbnb income.
So they're going to count the market
They're
rents,
going to count the market rent. So that kind of makes it a little tough.
Well, they're thinking in the back of their head, if they end up owning it,
Can they rent it out?
They're going to need to rent it out to
Yeah.
get their expected return.
Yeah. And if they're not getting, if for some reason somebody's not paying it, it's because they didn't do a great job at the short-term rental, or maybe it was not in the right location or whatever it was. So when they take it back, they're not going to be able to Airbnb it because it didn't work.
And I guess it wouldn't make sense. I was just thinking in my head, like, would any of these people do like a lockbox? Like somehow have a lockbox on your on your Airbnb site where the money comes in or whatever to your account, and then they scrape off their portion of what they're owed before you can access.
Well, that would be a really cool setup. I can tell you that.
They do it in like multifamily,
Yeah.
like big multifamily setups.
Yeah, but that's through a bank, right?
Correct. Yeah, you have to set it up a sweep account with the bank.
Yeah. Well, this the just for the Airbnb is what I can speak about. That when they collect money, they can deliver your money to several different accounts.
So you could just have it set up like once you hit your monthly payment, it just goes.
It could go
It could go
straight to
straight
the
to-
bank payment.
That's
yeah,
kinda cool.
Yeah. The last one that I found is called OVM financing.
Oh,
OVM.
Oh,
And they really had not much information about what they do or how they do it or
well, what's the point of
anything
having
about
a
that.
website?
Well, the bottom line is,
Call me.
is it's another company that you can look for. So there's 4 good companies right there that is straight short-term rental.
And lastly, you don't have to finance an Airbnb. You could pay cash,
Yeah, there's an
Or-
option.
Sure.
or you can find a rental property and get a master lease and just lease it yourself.
Arbitrage it.
and
Mhm.
Airbnb it out. Now,
Mhm.
my suggestion is you let the person that owns the house or the management company that's
Yeah.
leasing it out know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, we did that in Rock Hill. We arbitraged 2
and-
apartments.
Depending on where it is, and you might be able to. Your only expense is going to be furnishing it.
That's right.
Right.
And there are ways that you can even finance the furnishing part. Find somebody with a small dollar IRA that's willing to.
I thought you just rent it from
Finance.
Aaron's or something.
I was gonna
Yeah. You could do that. They might not have the type furniture you want.
Yeah.
But
It won't be
anyway,
eclectic.
Yeah, it won't be. Yeah, it won't be eclectic.
yeah, you have to go to the dumpster for that.
Yeah, I mean, really.
And I know this is the finance part. We're going to have to go here in a second, but you don't have to furnish the place with a whole bunch of new stuff. Your bedding, Wendy does this. The mattress and the sheets must be top notch.
Yeah, for real.
Other than that, you can get all your stuff at estate auctions and that
Yard
kind
sales.
of stuff. Yard sales. People don't care. Again, it's going to be in decent shape, but they love the eclectic
They
stuff.
do.
Anyway.
I've said this before. My favorite one that I've been in, a friend of mine, Pam Whitworth, she's the one who really turned me on to this short-term rental stuff. She's been doing it now for, I don't know, 8-10 years. And in her house in Texas, when you walk into her Airbnb, she has a Volkswagen Beetle door leaning up against the fireplace. It's the coolest thing you've ever
Well,
seen.
I mean, you have to have a fire screen.
That's true. And you can just roll it up and down as you need it.
It's just, well, it's not leaning over the fireplace opening. It's up against the side of the fireplace. But it's
Please
just
don't do that. It's not heat tempered glass. It'll break.
It's just the coolest,
try this
coolest
at
setup. She has jars of M&Ms, in old oil. You know how the old oil cans used to be glass?
Uh-huh.
Oil, with a top on it. That's what she has M&Ms in those. She's cleaned it out since then. But
Oh, wow.
there's M&Ms all around the house. It's
And
really
I
just
know I
cool.
talk about this too. She's got an old Airstream trailer that she had completely gutted, put like 30 grand into this thing,
Yeah,
and has a clawfoot tub
yeah, little
in the
mini
back of it. It's
clawfoot.
like
Yeah,
212 square feet. And she's got a clawfoot tub in
it's
the
a
back.
cool house.
If you want to
She
take a
knows what she's
shower,
doing.
it's an outdoor shower, by the
Yeah,
way.
which is also cool.
But people rent that thing all the time because it's an experience.
Yeah,
right.
it sure is.
All right.
So, but before you wrap it up, my recommendation, and I think Wendy and Bill would agree with it, if you want to acquire short-term rentals, the best way to buy them is private money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Absolutely.
that's how I think you've done all of yours
Yes,
that way.
I have.
Like-
I sure have.
like,
I've
there's
even got
no-
2 long terms on private.
Yeah, there's no better way to acquire a property than through private money, and then you season it for whatever period, usually 3 to 6 months, and then you refi it out into long term.
Mm-hmm.
But the best way is acquiring through private money. If you don't know anyone, reach out to us. I'm sure we can, think of a few people who would be willing
That's
to lend.
exactly right.
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
exactly right.
So thank you so much for joining us on the Passive Aggressive Show. Passive.
Ominous meeting.
When that graphic comes on, I feel like I'm in one of the big sci-fi movies where I'm going through some kind of wonderland.
Yeah. I take a deep breath. I'm like,
Anyway, thanks guys for joining us. We'll see you next week.